Hey, this is Daryl as a service for regarding Office 365, and this is the Message Centre, the week that was July the 14th. I missed last week, a few things that sort of came up, so there are a few more announcements and things that are in the Message Centre than usual, and as usual, because it is Saturday here, Friday in the States, there was a couple that just appeared even as I was preparing for the show. So it has been an interesting week. There is, of course, a number of developments coming up, getting in line for Microsoft Ignite. So we see some of the developments slowing down a little bit and just little drips and drabs, but holding back all the big news and the big developments. So as we look through the Message Centre, there is some stuff, and some of it I'm like, why is it there? Interesting. But there was a interesting discussion this week around a add-in that has been quite popular for Office. You might know of an add-in called FindTime. Now this came out of the Microsoft Garage. It was an application that allowed you to create a meeting poll, and you could send it out to people within your organization or outside your organization. You could ask or offer them different times that you would be available, and people could vote on the different times that they which they preferred. They could vote 2 or 3, depending on what was available. They didn't have to just choose one. They could also signify which one they preferred, so it allowed you to get a consensus. If you really wanted to, you could also get it to organize the meeting, that once everyone came to some kind of consensus, it would automatically create the meeting invite for you. Lots of different features that are really, really quite cool. And it had, of course, an Office add-in, so you could attach it into into Outlook 2016, Outlook 2013 as well, when we still had that. And you could basically just drive a meeting poll directly from your calendar on your desktop. The same application was available in Outlook Web Access, and this allowed you to do the same sort of thing. You could create a meeting poll, so that worked beautifully. Now, because of its success, FindTime became a more of a fully fledged application. It came out of the garage in the experimental phase, and it became what we now know as FindTime. So I just wanted to take a quick look through that with you, because there were some changes recently that caught a few people off guard. So we can find a time at findtime.microsoft.com, and for some time now you've been able to install it. It requires Office 365, so if you haven't signed up, then people would just click on in here and get that available. But now we're being presented with the following message, that due to its popularity, the FindTime Outlook add-in is no longer going to be available. It actually doesn't mention anything about the service there called FindTime. So a couple of people within the community really called that out and said, hey, hang on. If you're going to move away from this service, but you are starting it up somewhere else, why not promote it from the site that everyone was going to see it and to naturally progress to this new FindTime. They kind of missed that opportunity there. But what really caught people off guard this week was that the add-in just stopped. No warning, just sort of that was it. And so you had to go back and find messages like this to discover why it wasn't working. So our regarding Office 365 covered this off FindTime around about April-ish. So that's when I did the article, and I covered it off in terms of what it's capable of. And it is a feature that has been brought into Office 365, so no longer a separate service. However, what's really still missing is the Outlook add-in. So you have to create a meeting poll from Outlook Web Access at this stage. I guess the Office on Desktop team hasn't quite got together with the Outlook Web Access and Exchange team, and you haven't quite got the Microsoft Office add-in to come in there and do that. But I would have hoped and thought that an add-in like FindTime would have remained working until the add-in for FindTime was created, and you could carry on, or at least transition to the new service. So a little disappointment there. We're hoping that we might hear some news about an add-in for FindTime, and that it just either, whether it's an add-in or it just becomes a feature that's just part of Outlook, like we're seeing here, a full integration of Office 365 for FindTime and meeting polls, and then we're kind of hoping for that. But yeah, that was an interesting piece of news, and this is the thing that, sometimes you are going to get changes that occur within Office 365, and it's things like the message center which really need to be leveraged to keep you up to date for these sorts of changes. Now, I wouldn't expect necessarily FindTime to have something in Office 365 because it's not a service in 365, it's being recreated as FindTime. So yeah, I'm not sure how the best way that they could have got that news across, but for Office 365 services, this is still a very good source to go into. And look, I noticed some things, maybe they've been staring me in the face recently, but I noticed some things new to me that maybe they've been there for the last month or so. First of all, this link here that gives you some helpful information about how do you keep on top of Office 365 changes. So strange thing I noticed about this when I launched the link earlier was that it required a Microsoft account login rather than just grabbing my 365 session that I was using. Don't know why that is, but there's some information about sources that you can go to keep up to date. So Message Center is right up there at the top. Let me see if I can expand this out a bit. Probably should have. There we go. There we go. Yep. So Message Center, using the service health as well, and then I noticed this about Message Center preferences. So I'll have a look at that shortly. There's the roadmap to keep up to date with certain things, and blogs and community. So I still recommend that if you're not part of the tech community.microsoft.com, let's just whack that in there. There are communities within the community to help you keep up to date with the different platforms and things that you are using. So when you do sign in, you've got yourself a login. You can use your Office 365 login, of course. Then you can create your own set of communities that you watch, and you can go in and keep up to date with those sorts of things. So such as the SharePoint community and various changes that are happening there. So aside from that, actually, no, there was another thing here, wasn't there? That one, yes. Okay, so I wanted to go back up to one other thing here. Pretty sure it was here. Message Center. Overview of the Message Center. So notice that this gives you a good description of the Message Center itself. And it does go through what types of messages that you receive. So I found this one quite useful too, that if you go down and get a full explanation of the types of messages, you'll get some that are about preventing or fixing issues. Most common one that we see is stay informed or plan for change. So good explanations there. Now the other thing that I noticed about the Message Center was also this capability. Maybe you've been there for a while, so forgive me if I've missed it. But editing the Message Center preferences. So here's where you're able to send the weekly digest. You can turn that on and off, and you can send that out to your email. So you don't have to depend on perhaps the videos that I do, or going out to the Message Center itself every week. But you can turn and turn off certain messages that you want to see in the Message Center. I don't know if you want to turn any of these off, really. Let's expand that and have a look. So at the moment we've got quite a range. Exchange, Skype for Business, mobile device management is there because I've got a subscription that includes that. But why would you want to turn a message off for OneDrive? If there's going to be a change, if I need to stay informed about something in there, I'd want to know. So I'm not sure why I'd want to turn that off. Azure Information Protection. So yeah, you get the idea, but I'd recommend keeping all those switches on if you're wanting to stay informed about any changes across your services. you'll see the messages there. If you have a quick glance, if it's of interest or not of interest, then just work your way through them. It's better to be informed than it is to turn those off. So that would be my feedback about that feature. Anyway, so we've got a bunch of announcements because I didn't cover last week, so I'm not going to go through each one of them. I found this one interesting just to start off with. So this was last week's one, but the Pulse service that was free, Microsoft Pulse. Our user group began to use it probably at the later stage of things because this was already this change was already on the way, and the idea was that we were trying to get a bit more engagement within the meetings. We created a couple of pulses and we got people to connect to them from their mobiles while they were in the user group sessions. Now what's happened with the service is it's shifted to a paid service, no longer just publicly available on its own, but it's been attached to Skype meeting broadcast. Now this is a service that's part of Office 365, and it's a pulse that you can attach to a broadcast that you're running. So that's how it became a paid service. It's now part of the Office 365 subscription. So yeah, a little sad there because we were using it alongside a YouTube broadcast, and the nice thing about Skype broadcast is that you could Pulse was that you could take that content and you could create something of a landing page, have the pulse there, embed the video, and then make that the landing page for people to view it, so they could vote and show all their sentiment alongside the video itself or the live broadcast. So skipping further along, we have SharePoint Online's classic and modern experiences. Now, reading closer into this, it's talking about the library experience, and so for quite some time, for those of you who have done quite an extensive bit of work within the classic experience of the library, and you've wanted some features there that haven't been immediately available in the modern experience, then you could click on this link, go back to the classic experience, and just use SharePoint 2013 pretty much. But for those who do that, they've now created a link so you can go back that way. So if you have clicked to say go to classic experience, and you're starting to see in the new libraries that you're creating that yes, it's starting to cover all the needs that you have, and you want to turn some of those existing libraries back from classic into modern library experiences, then you have that option now too. So if we click through and have a look at the additional information, always good to have a look at that if you need a bit more info. Let's see if there was something relevant down here that helped us to. I think there's a screenshot somewhere. There we go. So you can set this at the SharePoint library and list experience and in the admin center itself to be able to turn it on and switch on whether it's auto detect or not. But back when you're within the library, you can click on this link now to come back in the other direction. So quite useful. All right, so back to what else can we pick on here? Navigation bar. This is talking about the Office 365 navigation bar. And interesting thing about this is it's something that I think was there earlier and has come back. Now, this is the ability to go into your waffle. Okay, so we didn't always have the waffle in this way. But now you're able to, let's say, what can we pin something here that's interesting? Let's just try Planner, I guess. Unpin from home, open a new tab. Where was it? More. Aha, pin to Navbar. Right. So have a look up near my picture at the top right hand corner. Pin to Navbar. Now we've got Planner in the nav. So we can click onto that and go directly to that application, to that platform. So you notice that I had Outlook there, and that's something that I think it's been there at least a year and a half. I haven't really bothered to try and remove it. At the same time, I haven't really used it either. But what I'm seeing here, it's look, just work with me here. I've got Windows 10. I have a start menu. That's my waffle. I have a taskbar, and let's pin Edge. More pin to taskbar. So what we're seeing is the reverse of Windows 10. It's within Office 365. Here's our start menu, and there is our taskbar along the top. So that's what it's for, I guess. Yeah, to be able to just jump into things without having to use the waffle. So I can unpin this finally. I know how to do that now. But like I said, I think it was there back when we used to have something else available to organise the portal. So I'm not quite sure, remembering how I got it there, but it's certainly been there for some time. Probably won't use Planner that often, so let's just unpin that. Done. Visio Online. I think I signed up for the preview to get into this. I haven't really had much of a response yet. Maybe I'm still in a queue. Maybe it's my place in the world. I'm being served out of the Australian data centres. So if there's anyone who is served out of the Australian data centres and has managed to get Visio Online preview, let me know. Drop it in the comments or just get in touch. But this is your basic, like we have Word Online, Excel Online. I think I covered this in an announcement a month or so back, that you're able to create Visio diagrams within the browser itself. Certainly not as fully fledged as the features on desktop application, but you can do it within the browser. So preview will run for a little while. Any documents that you create using Visio Online, once the preview is over and it becomes a paid service, you can still view those Visio diagrams. So you'll still have the capability of Visio Viewer, but you'll need to pay for that service once it becomes generally available. So staying informed. This one around peer-supported onboarding into Yammer. I immediately thought of peer support in my high school days and looking after the seniors would look after the juniors, and I guess it's that same kind of relationship with Yammer, right? And I guess with any products, if you're onboarding someone into your organization, it is good to create a support network around people to give them a good experience, to make a bit of time to help people get familiar with things. Now there's various different ways that HR departments do that, and they can, the older method of pairing someone off with someone who is in the same role and they dot around and learn all these sorts of things. Now Yammer's taken a approach of alerting people that you're going to be connected to within your workplace. As you join Yammer, if they're already in Yammer, then they're going to hear about it. So I kind of put together this little graphic. So we've got our, let me change my color there. Got our new person over here who's joined. We've got these people over here who are already in Yammer, and I kind of lined it up with the logo itself. They're already in Yammer. When that new person joins Yammer, these three people that are connected to you will get a notification to say such and such has joined. Maybe you want to invite them to some of the groups that you're part of. Now, just thinking about this, if this is a brand new person to the organization, what is Yammer using to make this connection between these people, between the new person and the three? Could be the Active Directory information, could be direct report, could be different distribution groups that you might have been added to. So I wouldn't expect the Microsoft Graph, the Office Graph, to pick up this information yet because they're a brand new person, but certainly they're going to get a better start. So this is the thing about Yammer, is that it is about at the moment adding yourself to groups, and from this perspective it's taking your peers, people that are working with you, and they'll have the ability to add you to groups as well. Now it's just going to be public groups. Okay, so let's say that none of these three people are group owners, so this feature is not necessarily saying you're going to be able to add someone to a private group if you don't have the authorization to do so. It also means that you're not going to be able to add them to groups that involve external people. So the external groups, we use a few. I think a little more frequent than trying to create an external network now, because it's all nice and tidy, and you can reach out and work with people without having to switch between networks. So these 3 people will be told, new person comes into Yammer, you might want to invite them to some of the groups that you belong to that are public. And that's peer onboarding. Very nice. Now the last 2 ones that did appear while I was prepping for the show, we have, and I've seen the blog post for this, a new capability that's coming to OneDrive for Business. I think it was in OneDrive Consumer. But OneDrive for Business, let's just click into the additional information. I know there's a good screenshot here that helps to illustrate it. Is that it will be used to recognize the different types of images. So in this example, we have a group of pictures that look like whiteboards. And the search string has been whiteboard. And so you can do this from you'll be able to do this from your OneDrive app on your phone, on your devices, and also within the browser as well. This makes it quite easy for us to say type in receipt, and then if we've been collecting receipts like you might do for your expense claims, then you can gather those together in a quick search. Now further on, it does talk about going deeper into this recognition, that it's not just saying, oh, this looks like a whiteboard, but it's going to make an attempt to recognize the writing within the image. A bit of optical character recognition. This is something that we see within Office Lens, within OneNote, and so it will be driven also from within the OneDrive experience. So imagine saying receipt, and then if you remember the name of the restaurant, then it's going to scan through, find that receipt, all receipts if you've got a number of times, and make it easy for you to process that expense claim or catch up with that expense claim if you're a bit behind. So nice feature. And finally, what have we got new to Skype for Business? A little more call analysis. This is more about the voice quality and the reporting. So for Skype for Business Online, of course, it's not as you don't get to twiddle all the dials and get into the heavier analysis like you can with Skype for Business on-prem. But Skype for Business Online is bringing some more of these features in to help those people who are using the PS10 breakout and conferencing facilities as well, to make sure that they're giving the best experience possible. And like with all of these services, even with Office 365, I recommend that you do check out some of the articles around optimizing your network for the Office 365 experience. As you're working out of the cloud now, with services like Skype, there's a lot more, what would you say? Because it's a real-time service, any lowering of quality is a lot more visible, because it's, you'll get jittery images, your voice might cut out, you might have problems connecting. So do have a look at some of those articles about optimizing your network for Office 365, particularly if you're using this out of a location of an office, and like 50 or 100 or 200 people are all working out of that same network or more, then it really makes sense to try and do that optimization. So that was the week that was July the 14th. Thanks for tuning in. Just want to say too, thanks for keeping up to date with things regarding Office 365. Actually, we'll just go back over here just to sort of echo that we do have a site where we have a number of writers that are sharing their stories, a couple of good articles this week around chat and conversation and collaboration. Simon Terry kind of helps to call out that collaboration as a word has been really watered down, and sort of sounds, it's been used too much, that collaboration is now, look, we're standing here in a coffee shop together talking, maybe we're collaborating on work. I covered off something on the subtleties of the integration of Skype into Office 365 groups, and there's a couple of good ones here from Juan too about archiving 365 groups and how you might do that, what's the few steps that you might go through there. So we do have that. We have our YouTube channel. There it is. Yep. So we'll link off to that. We are looking to get a couple more subscribers because we're trying to get to that magical number of at least 100 so we can change this horrible URL up here. So it's very much about having to get that kind of following to prove that yes, we are worthy of that. So if you can subscribe, and if you're really keen and you want to know when we start to do a YouTube live broadcast or something along those lines, or you want to know when we've published a new video, then you can click on the alert button too, and that'll let you know on your app or via the YouTube experience that we've got something new to share. So again, thank you for attending and coming along, and always welcome the comments to within the video. So like, subscribe, comment. I didn't even click in to see if there were any messages. I'm getting a little bit better at juggling some of these services, and I've even figured out how I can turn down the volume on just my browser so that it doesn't click in with all the audio at the beginning of my broadcast. Anyway, that's enough. It's Saturday, 11:30 here. Hopefully I've given you enough to start your week next week and looking into things within Office 365. Have a great weekend. Bye for now.